right? We killed the king. A long time ago now.
No. Apparently no you didn't.
My eyes narrow again. What do you mean, Alderman?
O'Brien likes to talk, and after he'd stabbed me, and after his man had shot me in my leg, just before he planned to kill me, he told me exactly what's happening. He's what's known, I believe, as a monologuer. The man that you killed, the thing that you killed, was not the king.
My heart skips a beat.
O'Brien murdered the king some years beforehand. Poison, a coward's weapon, replaced by a vile creature known as a Doppelganger. Working under O'Brien, he'd been ruling the kingdom as a puppeteer.
A Doppelganger. So how did you get out of Frostbreach anyway?
O'Brien takes far too long to say anything. In outlining his plan, it gave Rickard time enough to put a squad together and rescue me. I'm thankful to the man and would appreciate it if you were to kill him as you said you were going to.
A promise is a promise, Alderman. I'm a man of my word. And my hand almost unthinkingly touches the scabbard that holds Wormblight. But there's something I should tell you about Wormblight. You remember the name you gave me, Soultaker. You should know that was more than a metaphor. And I reach behind my back. I don't know if anyone tries to stop me.
You are completely alone in the woods. He didn't want anyone else to do this.
I unsheath it slowly, and I hold it out in front of me horizontally, and I let him take a good look at it.
I remember the look on that man's face, the man that you slew in the inn. Soul burnt out. I'd never seen the like before.
Well, I've spoken to that man. I've seen through his eyes. I've felt his pain. I felt his death countless times. Through this sword. It's cursed and blessed. The soul taken with this sword doesn't truly die. I can hear them now, Alderman. Even now. Your doppelganger, some part of it is still in here. Listening.
And I imagine O'Brien would very much like that information. And so he's come to my home and burnt it to the ground. For what you did, for what that sword has.
I snatch Wormblight away from him and jam it point down in the snow just to the side of us. And I give him a shove.
Nice.
And I point at him, and he's a good clear foot taller than me. Alderman is a royal oak of a man.
Governor Alderman is incredibly tall.
Don't pin this on me, Alderman. All I ever did was try to live my life. This thing has taken away everything from me. You think being sent to the north was the worst thing that could happen? My life is gone.
Don't try and play the good man with me, Alford Soultaker. It doesn't suit you. He looks back north to where you've just come from. We've been tracking you. O'Brien has been tracking us. What do you say we meet in the middle?
I know his men. They're competent, but they're guardsmen, they're not soldiers. None of them. The only competent soldier in Frostbreach is me. But I also saw O'Brien's men fight, and I fought them, and they were soldiers. They'll tear these guys apart. Alright, I step back from squaring off at him, and I give him an arch look. Alright, here's how it is, Alderman. I think you need me more than you're letting on.
I'm bleeding from my side, and I can barely walk. How much more subtle do I have to make it?
I let an edge enter my voice. You were alone with me in the woods, Alderman. Don't think I couldn't open that wound further if I didn't wish it. But abruptly, I hold out my hand, and I say, take this hand, Alderman, and you will have my help against O'Brien, and you can take your lackeys back up north and pluck the survivors from the dirt and the snow. You can rebuild your fairy tale dream, but I go south, and you help me. I'm not a good man, Alderman. I never have claimed to be, but I do have a family. I will kill any man in my way to get to them. Were I to have help, perhaps the killing could stop.
And he reaches forward. He doesn't even go in for the handshake. He does the incredibly butch, grasping your whole forearm, and you shake on it.
As he grasps my arm, I grin at him. The scent of a hunt is once again palatable. Get Helda. We're a team. Here's what we're gonna do. I've always thought that if I was left alone in the wilderness being tracked with troops...
As the snow gets heavier and heavier and whirls around you both. We cut to deeper into the forest, and we have Inquisitor O'Brien leading the remaining men he does have through the woods towards where they know you are. He's lost some of his men and women at the battle at the camp, but he hasn't lost nearly as many as Alderman has lost, because A, his guys are soldiers and Alderman's guys were guards, and B, they had no idea that was coming, it just took them by surprise.
And they just ran away.
Yeah, so he's still got most of his troops left. And there, as he goes forward through the woods, he is kind of shocked to see Alford Soultaker and Governor Alderman just kind of standing in the middle of the forest. What are you doing?
We're waiting. We're standing side by side, about 6 foot apart, with one hand on a hip, and in the other arm I'm holding which looks like a distance to be some sort of pottery urn. And we're waiting for him.
You can see him off in the distance, kind of signal to some of the guards he has behind him, and they draw arrows on all of you.
It's quite plain that Alderman and Alford are waiting. They're expecting O'Brien and his forces, and nonetheless they're standing in a relatively open area of snow. You can see from their footsteps they've been waiting some little while.
Okay. Inquisitor O'Brien stops in a close-up that we can see, but Alford can't. He smirks, and he signals to his guards. The front row of them point their bows at you and Alderman, and the rest of them start panning out in a perimeter, because they know you're not an idiot. They know you're not just going to stand out in the middle of nowhere waiting.
Yep.
And he signals to his two burliest-looking, huge soldiers, one man, one woman, and they walk towards you. He smiles at you. What have we got here? Are we intending to parley? Like pirates, are we now?
Soldiers parley, not scum and mercenaries like you. Nonetheless, here we are.
Like me, like I'm the scum in the situation. What on earth makes you think that you're better than me?
I'll tell you what makes me better than you. I have gold. I have everything that was secreted in Frostbreach, right here. Take it and walk away, and leave me alone.
I've got a kingdom of gold. I don't need whatever meager coin you have. I want the sword. And I can see that you don't have it. Where is it?
The sword has taken itself off somewhere else. In better hands than mine. I have the gold, and your last chance to take it, and leave.
We're going to take it, and we're going to take the sword. You don't have any bargaining chips here.
I look down at the urn, and give it an appraising look. Shrug nonchalantly, and say, "Okay, catch." I sling it across the space between us into their arms. Do they catch it?
Yeah, O'Brien himself catches it, smiles, opens it, looks inside. What by the gods is this?
I give him a bright smile. Eggs. And then whistle.
And at that point, an arrow, as you planned, tears through the air from the tree above where Helda is hiding, straight into the urn, which shatters, sending a lumpy, viscous goo cascading to the ground.
I shrug one more time. Say, pancake eggs.
And as this sticky, viscous gunk pours all over the floor, the ground begins to rumble. And out of the ground, infuriated and drawn by the smell of smashed eggs, come 4 ankegs all around the soldiers, pulling several of them down straight away. What do?
I lunge for the nearest soldier, and I crack him one roundhouse punch around the jaw.
Okay, roll me a hack and slash for that first bit.
It's 9.
It's a 9. Okay,
It's a 9.
Cool. You get to deal your damage, but they get to make an attack back. You smash into the jaw of this guy. Roll me your damage.
It's 9.
That's a 9. Okay. You smash into his jaw and just send him cascading to the ground. But O'Brien had told his men further back to be ready with their arrows, and you do feel something cut into your side as one of them hits you. So take d6 damage.
It's a 6.
It goes deep into you, and it's gone into the place where the owlbear had torn your armor away previously.
Oh.
What did I put your hit points at the minute?
14.
14. Oh, okay, right. Alford may not make it through this.
I drop to one knee, gripping my left hand to my side. My right hand, I cast skywards and give the signal.
Okay, and Helda, as planned, drops Wormblight towards you. You're in a lot of pain. You're going to have to make me a Defy Danger dex to grab Wormblight before the advancing soldiers rush at you.
That's a 10.
That's a 10. Nice. Describe what happens.
At the moment Helda drops Wormblight hilt downwards, it dramatically catches the sunlight. It nestles perfectly into my grip with a satisfying thump. And with a grunt and a slight stagger, I stand up to my feet, still holding my flank with my left hand, and I turn to the soldiers. All right, come on!
Nice. That's going to be a hack and slash as they charge towards you and you charge right back at them. Inquisitor O'Brien is rushing off into the woods.
It's not Titanic, it's a 7.
Roll your damage.
It's a 6.
3 of them rush towards you, and you swoosh forward with Wormblight, gutting 2 of them, even as they're still moving forward. You're spun around in doing that, and the third manages to slash straight down at your back. So if you take another d6 damage.
I howl out in pain as I take another 6.
Another 6? Oh shit. What's your now?
8.
Alford is looking worse for wear, bleeding all over, in a hell of a lot of pain. but pain is what fuels him.
And he spins around point first and tries to bury it up to the hilt in the gut of this soldier behind him.
Go for it.
11.
What happens?
With a snarl and a demonic look, he turns to face this poor soul, who takes one look at Alford's face, and a murmured whimper comes out of his lips involuntarily, and he just has a chance to say, sorry, before Wormblight is just embedded up to the hilt in him.
There is the sizzling noise, and you can feel this guy boiling from the inside as this black smoke pours out of his mouth, and his eyes burst, and black smoke pours out of them as well.
I feel through the grip of my right hand as the sword pulses with a dark power, and I withdraw Wormblight from the husk.
Alderman is leading the remaining guards against the soldiers, whilst the Ankegs are also causing carnage here, there, and everywhere. Helda jumps down from the tree, an arrow notched in a bow. Come on, let's get the son of a bitch.
Yeah, just like old times.
And she gives you, for I think the first time ever, a smile, and dashes off.
Gushing blood, which I try and staunch with my gauntlet. I stagger off after her, but I'm aware that I'm slowed.
You are rolling a discern reality to track him.
I'm going to assume that Helda's doing the majority of that, but I'll try and pitch in with 7 then.
That's a 7. Okay, so you get to ask me one question. Because she is doing the majority of the tracking, but you're the protagonist.
Yeah. Okay. As we stagger out into the woods, I ask myself, as we follow his tracks, what here is not what it appears to be.
His tracks go on for a little while and then just stop. It looks like maybe he's gone up into a tree or hidden in some bushes, but you've seen this trick before. You knew this from the war. He has gone forward and then he's walked backwards through his own tracks, and you know he's behind you, and you know he's seconds behind you, and you can feel his hot breath in the back of your neck. What do you do?
I realise there's no way that I can coordinate a balanced attack, so instead I just hurl myself forwards despite the pain and try and turn it into a forward roll.
Okay, I think that is going to be a Defy Danger con to move through the pain.
It's a 6 with +1 con.
It's a 6.
6.
Oh, no, hang on. It's not a 6, because you get a +1 because of discern realities.
Ha-ha!
If you hadn't spotted that he'd gone back behind you, it would have been too late. But you managed to just step forward, but it's more just like a stagger.
I'm feeling clumsy, and I'm feeling heavy, and I'm feeling slow.
You've lost a lot of blood, but you managed to get out of the way just as he swings his dagger towards you. Inquisitor O'Brien curses. Give me the sword! For the love of all the gods, give me the sword!
I muster up my strength to stand up in front of him. I lose my footing for a fraction of a second, and it's an obvious effort to regain my stance.
Look at you. You'll be dead on the floor in a second. I'm going to take it from you. I'm going to bury it in your gut and trap you in there forever. And he smiles. And then I'm going to go to your family.
I hit him with the sword.
Very good. Roll me a hack and slash.
As we've said before, when he chooses his moment right, Alford is remarkably nimble and light on his feet. Now, sure, he's hurt bad, and he's feeling lightheaded from blood loss. But he summons it up from within himself, and he lunges forward with the sword, rolling a 10.
Perfectly timed game-wise. Roll me your damage against O'Brien.
Oh, dude.
And that is, as a 10, you bury Wormblight deep into O'Brien's gut, and it bursts out the other side, straight through his armour, as if there's nothing there at all. Make that final description of what happens to him.
He gags, nothing coming out of his throat, but choking dark blood. I lean into him and growl into his ear. You want the sword? Take it, you son of a bitch. Take it all. And as his eyes gaze into mine, they blacken as if burning from inside. They roll up into his skull and begin to sizzle around the edges before just bursting gorily over my face. And black, inky smoke gushes out of his mouth and piles up into the air, and I feel him dry and wither and husk as his life force and soul being sucked away into Wormblight. I allow his corpse just to slide off the sword.
And you've lost a lot of blood right now, haven't you?
Oh yeah, sure.
As that happens, as he slides off, you kind of collapse forwards onto Wormblight, kind of burying it into the snowy ground beneath you. And you can see there's 2 soldiers from O'Brien's troops coming towards you. And you know you don't have it in you to take them out again. And at that point, 2 more arrows straight into those guards.
With a pained but grateful smile, just fall backwards into the snow, feeling my blood stain the white around me, and just mutter into the sky, knowing that she can hear me. You always have to have the last say.
And Helda pulls you up from the blood-stained snow. She doesn't say anything. She smiles. And the 2 of you stumbling to support each other, glance briefly back at the soldiers and the guards and the ankegs and the monsters and all the forest fighting each other. Helda looks back at the melee, turns to you and says, "We should probably go help them."
I look at the battle myself. Yeah, that is really what we should do. Lean heavily on her shoulder and face south, away from the battle. And I press on.
And the two of you limp away, trailing blood, into the snowstorm, heading south. And the snow swirls around you, and before long, you can't be seen at all.
Can I stop you?
Yes, you can.
And not you. You think being sent to the north was the worst thing that could happen? My life is gone. There you go, it happened.
Did the voice get the better of you? It was going to happen eventually. And B, they knew what they were going there to do, whereas the guards were just completely set up on. Oh, and completely robotic.
Dude, I've completely lost sound. Completely lost sound. Can you hear me? Wave if you can hear me. Oh, for fuck's sake. And then whistle. I'll put a whistle in there.
And the snow swirls around you, and before long, you can't be seen at all. Done.
Done.
Hi, this is Jason from the Gauntlet gaming community. If you enjoyed this episode of Comic Strip AP, please consider supporting the Gauntlet on Patreon. Our page can be found at patreon.com/Gauntlet.